Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Steelseries Southeast Asian Cup season number 3. This is game 1 of a best of 3 between Lowyat.net esports and MiTH Trust. MiTH Trust, of course, being a Thai team and Lowyat being Malaysian. Thank you, of course, to Steelseries for sponsoring this tournament, Dota Talk for allowing us to cast it, and thank you to Pimp Muckle for doing the camera work today. If you have any feedback, please put it in the chat, and Blaze for co-casting. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. How's it going for you?
Oh, it's been great games so far. Some interesting strategies we haven't really gotten to see until recently, so that's really cool to see the 6.79 changes and how it's been kind of shaping the way people play the game. And as such, there's these two teams are specifically ones that are kind of they're doing interesting style. Like they do like one or two hero picks that are new meta, and everything else is still their old style. So it's kind of fun to see kind of them still kind of bridging the gap and kind of being dragged kicking and screaming into the new meta, I suppose. But still, Mistrust, a very solid team. I have to admit I haven't seen as much of Low yet, but they've taken a game off or a series off of Orange, and they have made it now to the semifinal round. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, Lowyat are known for, I would say, playing slightly unconventional hero picks and drafts. Last night we did see Lance playing the carry Morphling going for phase boots, which was unique, but it worked. He carried the game forward, and I'm expecting some interesting things from both teams. I mean, Myth Trust, they usually end up playing quite aggressive and getting some nice pickoffs. I think they've switched the who plays what recently around a little bit, but I mean, last time I cast them, AABBAA was playing a mid lane. He usually played something quite aggressive, the Queen of Pain, the Puck, a hero that could snowball forward, and he would just get a whole bunch of kills while I think it's Lakel's plays the carry normally, if I'm not incorrect. And Lakel's would just farm up a hero like Alchemist and then come into the game about 25 minutes and just win it. Could be completely wrong though, but that's what I saw. But I mean, was that how they played last night?
Oh yeah, definitely. They have a. I mean, generally speaking, I mean, Abba kind of picks up kind of a semi-carry type mid, usually speaking. I mean, sometimes he goes like Clockwork, but a lot of times you see stuff like Dragonite and stuff. But for the most part, the backbone is Lakel's. He's the one to take it to the late game, and everybody else is just kind of playing that 4 protect one, or kind of even a 4 distract from one, where he wants to be all by himself doing his thing. Maybe like an anti-mage or something will come into his hands, but everybody else is just kind of doing their own thing and trying to put aggression across the rest of the map.
Yeah, and first pick of the Alchemist coming out from Lowyat.
Hmm.
That is curious. I mean, I do quite like the Alchemist change. I'm going to be honest. I think that now with the Alchemist change, I don't know how many times you've seen him be played, but his ultimate did get changed from Chemical Rage, increasing your health and regen, to just doing pure health regen and mana regen now. So 50 regeneration per second at level 1, and it synergizes perfectly with an early armlet pickup. So I have seen a couple of teams around the Alchemist going for the Acid Spray, going for the Unstable Concoction, and going for, phase boots, armlet, medallion, and just ganking a very, early online hero that can just get kills and get, snowball forward basically, and then he can go into a late game carry with a Grievous Greed. So maybe seeing Lowyat do something like that with him, put him in the mid lane, and just use him as that kind of ganking hero, similar to the Dragon Knight, but a bit more killing rather than tower pushing potential. Alternatively, they could give it to Lance and just chuck him solo in the easy lane or with a support or two, and Grievous Greed max Midas into full 6 items at the 25-minute mark, as you do sometimes see on Alchemists if they can get the farm up.
Yeah, absolutely. He definitely has his emphasis more in the early to mid game. A little bit of kill potential early, and then of course, if he can really get that Grievous Greed working for him, then you're going to see some amazingly fast large item pickups. I mean, like we've seen games where like you can see a 12 to 15 minutes assault Kuros, but obviously his items buildup has changed. Like you mentioned, the armlet is pretty much core on him because of the fact that he no longer has that innate durability with his ultimate. But it actually, in my opinion, makes him a lot stronger around the level 6 to level 11. It's only towards his second and third ultimate, the latter part of the game, that it's actually even a nerf. So might be able to be a little bit more aggressive, active on the lane, and we'll see how it comes into play. But Mistrust answering back pretty effectively. I mean, the ensnare, great for just holding Alchemist in position. You're not going to really trigger a stun on himself, but he's not going to be able to send in those big right clicks the direction of the opposition. Meanwhile, Clockwork is a great offlaner who can just kind of break apart the battlefield. Long-range initiation with the hook shot, and as necessary, can drop down those cogs to either lock somebody in or keep people out.
Yeah, that's Well, I guess a really aggressive counter initiation and initiation by MiTH there. And Lowyat now going to have to watch their positioning because in team fights, if that Clockwork can get a nice hook off and the cogs, like you said, Naga Siren, the song The Siren, Lowyat could be finding themselves in a bad situation, especially if MiTH do manage to pick up another AoE hero, like with Shadow Fiend, for example, Queen of Pain or Puck or anything like that, that can really just deal out damage in AoE. And when you have the Song of the Siren to initiate or Clockwork to trap everyone in, that's going to be quite scary. So I do wonder what Lowyat going to pick in response to that. I mean, like I said with Lance, normally he does tend to go for kind of, I would say, split pushing type heroes. So maybe you're going to see, like I said, Alchemist in the mid lane and picking up something like the Phantom Lancer or the Morphling for Lance to just push the lanes and just avoid in team fights.
Hmm.
Or the Wisp. That's.
I think this is the second time I've seen a 6.79 Wisp. People just look at him and they're like, okay, well, he can't stun, he can't prevent spell casting, things like that with his tether any longer, and they don't see him as viable. But still, if you can get who you want, whoever you want, in an aggressive position instantaneously or with a few seconds of delay, it's still a very, very powerful hero. So looking forward to seeing if they want to send the Alchemist in with his concoction already brewing, can kind of really set up some powerful kills, things like that. The one thing that I don't like about the timing of this pickup is they're already up against heroes like Nagasarn and Clockwork, who are pretty darn good at dealing with IO. I mean, Clock doesn't prefer to hook defensively, but he has the means, and you can't pick off a Naga Siren when she has the song available. So all in all, I'm not sure if it's going to be that effective in the ganking aspect, but as you mentioned, if Lowyat want to go for a kind of split push style, who better to do that than somebody who can send them across the map in an instant?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Wisp, he's. I feel like he hasn't quite found his new spot in the metagame, but I think he is definitely viable. Um, since dual lanes are kind of making a comeback, he does fit quite well into dual lanes. With the Alchemist, a possibility, but maybe going to see some like a CK or Ricky is another possibility. Even just another roaming support like the Sand King, since well, actually it's more Myth Trust who like the Sand King, but I mean, though, yeah, they could go with something like the Sand King, just have the roaming supports, and I don't know. I think the Wisp could make some good plays. Lowyat are in the Sentinel, so sorry, the what's it called in Dota 2?
The Radiant?
The Radiant. Sorry, God, I just had a
Wow.
complete mind blank. They are on the Radiant, so the Wisp could be pulling the mid lane to get his farm up that way. So I mean, I don't know. I think they could make some nice plays, and we do see them banning out the Dragonite, like you said, since Smith Trust are a big fan of picking up that Dragonite and just taking down as many towers as fast as they can.
Yeah, very, very strong pickup. I mean, just getting the long duration stun can seal the fate of IO very quickly. Also, a good amount of damage output and AoE later on. But yeah, Myth still have like so many different options. Like I kind of feel like even though the Visage and DK, which are very common picks for them, have been taken off the board, they still have like so many of their kind of signature heroes. I mean, BSR, a great offlane player. I think he renamed himself recently, but he's gone under two different names, so the different times to cast him at the very least. But he has been great on the offlane and so many different heroes. That hasn't been touched at all. And Abba still has a number of heroes up his sleeve as well. So I think they're just trying to figure out how to respond to this IO. And the best thing is mobile heroes that can get out of a bad situation very, very quickly. But honestly, the Naga Siren herself is just a really, really good way to start things off. And if you really feel like going for some cheeky play, you could pick up the Disruptor, and that has some more potential. They're just going to go for some global presence of their own. Nature's Prophet, a very, very powerful split pusher that can really, really cause some grief. And I believe Bungsel Roti is going to be picking that one up.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, I could be wrong. I cast too many C games where everyone changes their names around, but I think it was Bungsel Roti who was playing the Nature's Prophet, and he was just amazing. He was in the off lane, but he was still just in every lane at once, just heaping around and buying TP scrolls and going back to his own lane and going. It was just crazy. And I'm pretty sure it was Bungsel Roti, and he really, really impressed me with the Nature's Prophet. So if it was him, I expect some huge plays coming out, and Lowyat can have to think about what they want to take in return. Honestly, I really think that Ricky Maru could be a fantastic pickup now, just to get the own ganking presence, and especially now since he doesn't get revealed if he takes the smoke down, he could really sneak up on the Nature's Prophet and catch him out of position in the jungle multiple times. But it's going to depend. He is still in CM mode, isn't he? Let me check.
Who is
Ricky
the
Maru.
Ricky? Yeah, he's perfectly fine there. The only ones that were touched with the
Brood and Slark.
changeover is Broodmother and Slark. So
Yeah.
not plenty. Definitely an option. Were you thinking that for Lowyat specifically, or for Mistrust? Because I mean, I could see it for both. But it's not as good for the Wisp Riki combo for Lowyat specifically because like they used to go for the Blink Strike and it always did the Tether Stun. Now they changed a little bit about how the positioning of Blink Strike works, and most importantly, of course, the Tether Stun doesn't stun at all. It just slows them, hopefully inside a Smoke Cloud, but maybe not at all. So Turret Protector is the very, very interesting pickup. Again, another hero that has had such great history, but now in this meta doesn't seem to have nearly as much relevance. Might signify that they're be looking for something like a Weaver or something could be pretty potent, but I don't know. It's just like it kind of feels like Lowyat has drafting heroes that were so darn amazing a month or two ago, and now have kind
Yeah.
of fallen off the grid.
No, I can definitely see that. And Treant is just Loya must have something in mind. I mean, Treant Wisp is not a terrible combo with the heal coming out. If they do go kind of ganky, but I mean, Wisp and Treant aren't really aggressive heroes on the whole. And Treant, I feel as a support, he's really not that strong because after he was whacked with a nerf stick.
Hmm.
Um, he needs levels now. He needs to hit level 7 as fast as possible, if not higher, just so he can have the living armor, have the leech seed, and also get his ultimate up. And so where are they going to put him? I guess they could put him as a pulling support on the bot lane, but Wisp is maybe wanting to go there, but they could just put Wisp in the mid lane, pulling it with the Alchemist possibly, and it's really going to depend on what they pick up for the carry, but they've banned the Weaver out, so they can't have that really OP Weaver Treant combo, so I wonder what they are going for. Maybe Morphling again, so there's Lance's Morphling. He is a very strong Morphling player, so they might just be basing a 4 Protect 1 draft around him.
Yeah, I actually really like that concept. A lot of times I've seen Morphling Wisp on the same team. You also have a Chen, and you get huge amounts of healing. If they do want to pick up another support and run the Treant as a core, that's definitely an option. Otherwise, the Treant Protector himself is a great heal-oriented support. His Living Armor got hit pretty hard, but his Leech Seed actually heals more than ever. It deals a ton of damage as you rank it up, and on top of that, of course, it will heal for about the same amount. So Morphling will be able to tank a ton of harassment, and even if a Split Earth connects, even if Nation Prophet gets an early Hex and throws it on the Morphling, as long as he's morphing his strength and getting the heals here and there from IO and Treant, he's actually going to be in a pretty good spot no matter how aggressively he pushes out. And this is kind of the style that Myth Trust used to play a year or two ago, where they just had the Morphling pretty much glued to one lane. And you could not unseat the Morphling from this lane. Like you would see him go for early Lincolns and then BOTs. And that would allow him to literally, he would, if he was ever ganked, he would replicate the opposition, waveform into the trees, TP home, and then when it was safe to come out, he would replicate right back to the lane and continue the split push. And with the global presence of Treant to help them out, that might be viable prior to Prophet picking up that Hex, as I mentioned.
Yeah, and I think this game probably we're going to be seeing Lance going for the Ethereal Blade into an sorry, Lincoln's into Ethereal Blade. Because looking at the heroes on Myth at the moment, Clockwork is going to be the only one he can't instantly kill, basically. And I mean, that's the build he went for every time I've seen him play Morphling thus far. But it's really going to depend on his farm ultimately. And I think with the Treant healing him up, he should be able to play quite aggressive. But now Myth Trust going for their own split pusher. Like you said, like, it was Lakel's, I'm pretty sure, who's going to be just playing that farming role. And it looks like both teams are going for that kind of split pushing 4 Protect 1. But honestly, I would give a little bit of an advantage to the Morphling, because he has got that replicate. So he can just replicate the anti-mage and sick the anti-mage on the anti-mage with, Wisp helping him out with extra attack speed. Not that he needs it, but I mean, that is a possibility. Plus, there's kind of, I would say, 2 carries on Lowyat at the moment compared to, I would think most of the farm is going to go to the anti-mage. Nature's Prophet might be able to get a little bit of farm up, but on the whole, anti-mage is going to be the target. And Juggernaut is going to be the last pick, so
Is that a solo Juggernaut then, do you think? Or is it going to go for the weirdest dual lanes I've seen?
Maybe a...
Well, you said they were unorthodox, and they
Yeah.
killed the pulse crazy out. You said bad slow game is the offlaner?
Yeah, usually. So I guess Wisp Jug maybe, and Shangzai and Lance leaning together with DDZ mid lane.
Definitely possible, and they will be able to secure themselves pretty effective mid to late game. But honestly, even though they have 3 carries, I'm still afraid of them taking the game to 50 minutes because, first of all, we've already seen what a Naga Siren can do quite a bit with farm, even if not in a prioritized role. Leshrac can do a lot if he gets some extra HP, some extra mana, unless, of course, the Morphling does replicate that anti-mage on top of him or something like that. But then also, we've got BSRs really, really amazing Nature Prophet, and Lakel's legendary Anti-Mage. Honestly, if you watch a dozen games of Lakel's, the ones you remember are the Anti-Mage games. This guy just does so much work with this hero. So taking it to the late game, you're going to see him with a harder Tarask, and you're going to see split pushing all across the board. And unless these relocates put out a lot of pressure, like I said, I still, despite the tri-core lineup, don't feel that confident about Lowyat's late game. They really have to make sure they're pressuring towers at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, both teams have got really decent split push, honestly, and I think a lot of it's going to depend on positioning, pickoffs, and warding. I think once it hits about the 20-minute mark, when Anti-Mage really starts the split push and Nature's Prophet gets up that Shadow Blade and starts pressuring his own, if they can get a nice ward, maybe here, and they can spot out the Anti-Mage, farming their own jungle before he goes for a push, they could, maybe go for a bit of a smoke gank, and I think that's really what it's going to come down to for Lowyat, because the mobility on MiTH, I would say, is a little bit more. They have, of course, got the Juggernaut, who can, pop that healing ward down to get some towers, and Morphling's got the waveform, and, Wisp who's got the tether, but, I mean, ultimately, it's very hard to catch an Anti-Mage unless you've got some kind of hard disable, and the only disable coming out from Lowyat at the moment is going to be Unstable Concoction, as well as a Treant using the Overgrowth. So I think a lot of it's just going to come down to kind of defensive/aggressive warding from Lowyat, trying to catch out the Anti-Mage if they can.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, we do have a quick disconnect coming out from, actually one from both sides, but I'm assuming they'll be able to resolve those issues and come back into it in no time at all. Now, one thing I talked about earlier with the early Linken's pickup that's very common for a Morphling, I don't think that's going to be the case here. There's just not really much benefit for it. I mean, the Lightning from Leshrac or the Nature's Prophet, Wrath of Nature, will both pop the Linken's, and all you're really negating is the Ensnare from the Naga, which Morphling has tools to deal with one way or another. So most likely just going to rush up one basic stat item and then could go straight for that Ethereal Blade. Not great against AM, but amazing at picking off the supports or even the Clockwork if he doesn't have a cloak. So that is definitely viable for a very aggressive, gank-oriented Morphling, which I think is kind of what they need to look towards, because they do have the kill potential from the Alchemist, and if Morphling picks up a couple good items, they really could make their mark on the map. But just playing a split push game against both Furion and Anti-Mage, it's a very dangerous game to play, that's for sure.
I don't know. I think that he might not go for Linken's, he might go for something like the BKB, but I think, honestly, a Linken's isn't a terrible item choice in Morphling regardless, just because he does need the regeneration, he needs the stats, and it does mean that, late game when we do see a Hex pick up on the Prophet, like you mentioned, he will be able to split push without problem. And something like a BKB, usually you pick it up if you want to help out in team fights. And like you said, the Linken's can also be used to put on someone else. So, I mean, maybe we're going to see him chuck it on DDZ and DDZ run into Initiate, something like that. But it's kind of hard to say. I think that a Linken's is kind of considered a core Morphling, mostly just because of the regeneration. Because he does want to be able to, spam the waveform, spam the morph for getting agility and strength whenever he needs to. So I don't know, but I guess we'll see. A BKB would mean that he can help out in team fights earlier, and I mean, even skipping some kind of defensive item at all, just going straight for the Ethereal Blade would mean he can gank a lot more. But I think it's going to depend on how the early game goes ultimately, because if he does get the space, going for kind of a late game item build would help out a fair bit. But if he doesn't get too much space, if his allies just can't create it for him, he might need to go for a BKB and just go into team fights, guns blazing, and just try and get the pick-offs.
Yeah, it's all about the timing of the items more so than the selections themselves. I mean, there's benefits to different things like the Manta for dodging a couple of different abilities here and there. The BKB is amazing against Anti-Mage because even at 3 a.m., you don't have to worry about the feedback of the mana break. So that's a really, really big thing for Morphling to stay in the action, because he's as reliant on his health bar as he is on his mana pool, because of the fact that he gets so much benefit from morphing between agility and strength. So that is going to be a pretty big factor. And I can't wait to see exactly pretty much who's going to win the Farm Fest of the early game and how that's going to transition. Unlike most of the SEA games, I usually project like a certain number of Midas. Actually, we might get a full remake here. Anyways, I often see like Midas plays for all these kind of late game oriented heroes, but I don't see that being that viable on maybe but one or two, because of the fact that they want to get to the bigger items as quickly as possible. And although it's a great long-term investment, for early game skirmishes, it's actually going to be quite a drawback for them. But it is going to be a full remake as far as I can tell. Do you have any info on that?
No, I left the game, so I hope it's a remake.
Sure enough.
Yeah, it's a remake. Yay! Yeah, I don't know. This game is either going to be a whole bunch of kills in the early game, one team taking an advantage and pushing forward. Because, if you shut an anti-mage down, if he can't get his items up, you
Mhm.
can basically get the racks against him. He doesn't have that many defensive skills, and he's really designed to kind of split push and maybe team fight a little bit later into the game. So, if Lowyat can get that early game advantage, they should be able to win it. But I mean, ultimately, if they can't, if neither team gets the early game advantage, it might just turn, like you said, into a MiTH farm fest where everyone gets a MiTH and we end up with like another 70-minute game with neither team able to quite win it until there's a big fight or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of potential here. I'm curious to see how Lowyat reacts to this kind of draft that they're going into, because obviously they just want to get farm on their three heroes, but like you said, they could do so much with putting pressure on the anti-mage. The question is if they have the tools to really do that. The Unstable Concoction is amazing for locking him down, but they really need a little bit more follow-up than just that there. So maybe they'll just put the Juggernaut in a very aggressive position where he's always mostly just using his magic-based damage rather than relying on him going into a semi-carry role. And that will give more time for the Morphling and less time for the Anti-Mage, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's about the momentum. It's about how much space they create, and we'll see how each team reacts to the draft ahead of them and the game ahead of them.
Well, yeah, normally Lance Lance does play that one position. Like he's at the top and everyone else is below every single hero on Myth. So I kind of am expecting that from them. Maybe the Alchemist and the Juggernaut are going a lot more early game items. Like I said, I think maybe a mech being picked up on the Alchemist as well as Face
Mhm.
Boots Midas. Not Midas, Medallion and Juggernaut probably going for the Face Boots and the drums and maybe into an Argonym's because it is an easy build up. But I don't expect, any kind of hardcore carry items coming out on either of them. I think they're just going to be there to make the space for Lance.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Honestly, of all of those three heroes, of Juggernaut, Alchemist, and Morphling, Morphling is the only one that absolutely needs items. Other than Waveform, he does absolutely nothing if he can't survive and he can't dish out damage in the midst of a fight. So it's essentially the role of an underfarmed Morphling in a team fight is Waveform in, toggle your Strength Morph on, and run. And it's just like you take some damage, but beyond that, you're contributing very, very little. So it is pretty important for Lance to be the focused on the farm, putting pressure on the towers, and then we'll see what Lowyat can do with the other four individuals in the meantime. But again, they are up against both the Prophet and the Anti-Mage. It's easy to shut down one, but to shut down both of them is a completely different story, and that's going to rely on Wisp getting those early levels. So obviously, the dual lane will split his experience in half. If he gets some pulls off in conjunction with that, they might be on better terms. We'll see.
And now we wait for the game to start. No, I'm dead.
So just from the draft, just from knowing what we know from what's coming out of the all pick phase, if you had to pick a person to take game one, who are your eyes on?
Don't ask me that, I don't bet. But I don't know. Lowyat. I like Lowyat. I have faith in Lowyat. I mean, I like Myth too, but I think Lowyat are very strong. But I mean, I guess Myth did actually beat First Departure last night, who were very, very. They did beat First Departure, didn't they? I did just make that up.
Oh yeah, no, they took it, but it was probably the closest series I've got. So it was pretty much taking it by tooth and nail.
Yeah. So I don't know, because I mean, First Departure is a very, very strong C team. So I refuse to comment. How about you? Who do you think's gonna win?
I gotta say, although like I said, I haven't seen enough of Lowyat to really get the best estimation of their potential. I've seen the way Mythos plays these kind of lineups, and although I'm not the biggest fan of the Leshrac, everything else is perfect for each individual player. Lakel's Anti-Mage, BSR, Nature's Prophet, Abba Clockwork, all this just spells disaster for their opposition. And of course, up against a more skilled team, that might not be the case. But in my opinion, Mistrust, if you're betting, you better bet on an Lakel's Anti-Mage. That's all I'm saying.
All right, well, we'll have to see because I think, I don't know, Loyat's picks are just so weird though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I want to be able to say, I've got full faith in them, but picking up a Wisp and a Treant Protector, it's just, it's like, what? What do those two heroes add to a tri lane? And I guess we're going to see what they do with it. I mean, I think maybe they're going to be running an aggressive dual lane with Wisp and Juggernaut, possibly. Or maybe they're just going to run a tri lane and have, the leech seed plus the Wisp tether slow plus the spin to get kills, which, I mean, is a possibility, but they have got virtually no stun. So Anti-Mage is just going to be blinking all over their faces without any kind of fear. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Other
Also,
than adaptive, they pretty much have just the one stun, don't they?
yeah.
I mean, I guess they do have the overgrowth, so if they can get the roots on Anti-Maze before Manta style, that could be a pretty big deal.
Also, guys, you're hurting my feeling in the chat. Please stop. They're having a make a fat joke about Lily.
Oh.
Very sad. Lily's so fat that can't crash the boat because of her. Lily's so fat her mother doesn't leak when Coddle casts Mana Leak. Doesn't even make any sense.
That does not make any sense at all, as a matter of fact. Yeah. That's.
Oh well. Anyway, for those who are just joining us now, this is game 1 of a best of 3 between Lowyat and MiTH. It is, of course, the semi-finals for the Steelseries Cup Season 3. Too many S words. And yeah, we should be expecting a pretty good game. They have done the draft already, so we just remaked for an AP. And, I mean, looking at the players, we'll go through the players quickly. On the side of Lowyat, we have got Bad Slow Game on that Juggernaut heading towards the offlane. Lance, of course, playing that Morphling heading towards the easy lane. Shangzai is going to be playing the Treant, also joining the offlane looks like. And Mozan on the Wisp heading down to bot to help out Lance with his farming up. And DDZ going to be on the Alchemist in the mid lane. Alchemist.
And that leaves over to Mistrust. They're all heading down bottom. Leading the charge is Lakel's on the Anti-Mage alongside SD on the Naga Siren. A couple wards in our arsenal. Clockwork picked up by Abba, going for the Bottle Rush build with 2 Tangos pooled. Then we do have Leshrac, only a smoke and just bare bones resources, but that is TNK on the Leshrac. And back in the fountain, we actually see BSR over on the Nature's Prophet. He's starting with boots, and he is most likely going to go on the top lane.
Oh, and just so you don't frustrate the community, apparently you have to say AABBAA, because I remember one time I was casting with Cyclops, who is, I think he's Thai or Malaysian, I don't know, but either way, he was like, no, you can't say ABBA, you have to say AABBAA, you're being so offensive. So I was like, all right, Jesus, AABBA.
That's a lot of syllables, I gotta say, just
yeah,
to treat to somebody, but
whatever. And interesting enough, just looking at the lineup at the moment, MiTH is running an aggressive trial lane, it looks like, which, I mean, I can see the kill potential quite easily with SD net followed up by the stun coming out from TNK, and Lakel's just hitting. I think he's going to get maybe a level or 2 in the mana break that they easily could get a kill, and possibly going to see a rotation of Shangzai down to the bot lane. Though, of course, well, actually, are they going to go for a first blood attempt in mid lane? DDZ has got that acid spray, not the stun, and they've got the haste turn picked up on TNK.
oh, this could be a pretty easy kill. The Cogs will knock him back, but he will still get netted up. There is going to be a split earth to follow. A lot of right-click damage coming from all sides here, and it should be the first blood. A little body block, a little right-click, and that is TNK's 200 bonus gold. It will trade 1 kill, but I believe the Alchemist respawned just after the Clockwork kill, which means he doesn't get any... No, he did get experience. Look at that 124. So he is halfway to his level 2, but still the first blood is what they were looking for, and that's what MiTH got.
Yeah, so a really nice pick off, and unfortunately Shangzai, I guess he didn't level up that living armor. He already cast it in the top lane, because that could have potentially saved DDZ from getting picked off. They have not that much damage over time quite yet. When TNK gets up a level in Diabolic Edict, that's going to be doing a lot of damage and just ripping through the living armor, but I feel like DDZ didn't necessarily have to die at that point. But on bot lane, we can see that Mozan really can't deal with the harassment coming out from TNK. They have got a nice aggressive ward planner down on the side of MiTH, so just giving some extra vision into the jungle here and ensuring that when Mozan comes out to try and do a bit of harassment and hiding around in the bushes, he's going to get caught out. And it also defends that pool camp really, really well. So even if they can, even though they haven't blocked that pool camp, if we do see Mozan attempting to get a pull off, he is going to get ganked for it.
Absolutely. And generally speaking, that's honestly the purpose of this aggressive trial in here. Putting a little bit of pressure on Morphling and making sure Wisp cannot get levels. If Wisp cannot pull independently, then he is going to be sitting on the level 3 through 5 for a very significant part of the laning phase. And that means less relocate ganks and less risk for Mistrust as a whole. Now, we do see the ensnare come out on Lance. He has the waveform. He's going to use it, as the Split Earth will be wasted on Dead Air.
And I do like how Lance has actually gone for a very fast pickup of both the boots and the magic stick. So if he does get initiated, he's going to have that extra move speed to be able to get out of the way, as well as that magic stick to regenerate, burst mana. So he will be able to use that waveform to get out of the way if he does get picked on. So nice early item pickups, and it does show he's kind of awareness of the lane he's in. He's not, rushing for something like. Oh, actually, they drop a sentry ward down, and they will catch side of SD, but they're not going on him. They're just kind
probably
of
not wise. That is a 6 armor Naga Siren, and they only have a rank 2 waveform, so they really just don't pack the punch to bring him down. But the fact that they know about him, they have quite a great awareness with the Sentry Ward, and on top of that, I just gotta say, could you ask for 2 better heroes to survive against the tri-lane? Like, you have the waveform, you have the tether, that'll just pull you out of a bad position at every single occurrence. It's actually really nice.
Yeah, and on top lane, they're doing a pretty good job of. I mean,
actually, bottom Mosin is going to take a lot of right clicks, and I spoke a little too soon with that Split Earth. Guaranteeing that kill. Anti-Mage will claim Io's life, and quite a bit of a setback for him to start off.
Yeah, and yet another kill going the way of Mistrust, so their aggressive laning phase does seem to be bringing them forward just a little bit. Lakel's getting quite hard to pick off. I mean, he's got
on top lane is BSR going to get a solo kill. Here comes the healing ward. It's not going to be enough. BSR just pops off the Sprout, and Bungso Roti will claim a 1 versus 2 solo kill.
How did that happen? Why didn't the leech seed go off or the living armor?
I'm not too sure about Zhang Zhao. I'm actually not even sure how to pronounce that, to be honest. But
Shangzai, I think.
Shangzai, okay. And as far as that, it must have been something to do with reflexes and the fact that he didn't think that there was enough right-click damage. But nowadays, Prophet has even more with the phase boots, and it's just a no Stout Shield Juggernaut
But
getting a little too aggressive. And of course, yeah, big rotation with the supports to the mid lane. And that is going to be another kill in the Alchemist. Just starting things off so strong for Mistrust. This is exactly how they needed this laning phase to go.
Yeah, and especially, I do like how they run the aggressive tri-lane. Just getting the farm on Lakels, and I mean, they really kind of spotted out that Lowyat picked kind of weak lanes. I mean, with the Wisp and the Tree Protector, I don't really know what they were expecting or what they wanted to go for, but I mean, ultimately, MiTH just saying, hey, we're going to be able to dominate these lanes. And like I was saying, Lakels has got up a poor man's shield, he's got up that Ring of Hell, so it doesn't matter how much harassment they lay onto him, he's just going to be able to walk out of range for a little bit and heal straight back up and then rejoin the fight with full health and be able to keep farming. So it does make him very, very hard to kill. And you can see now, he's tanking the creep wave, going in and trying to get a double kill, in fact. But he will
Doing
just...
some harassment at the very least, yeah. But they're going to salve... Oh, the wrong way around, actually. They both did salves. Technically, Lance's was unnecessary because of the tether. Could have pretty much healed them both up without wasting that 125 gold. But still, it's kind of surprising that Kels is doing so well down 1 versus 2. The rotation kind of took quite some time. Mistrust left him down bottom all by his lonesome, but of course they did have the kill advantage already, so he's not doing too bad. Meanwhile, it looks like, yeah, Juggernaut is also by himself up against Nature's Prophet, but maybe that means that the Treant will be keep a better eye on the lane up top. Meanwhile, flank to gank on mid, TNK, SD. You're going to charge Gade, get the net. Now there's going to be a concoction to fly out, but only hitting on the Lash Rack, and the Cogs with that hookshot guarantees this kill. Now the Treant Protector will drop the leech seed, and this might be a return kill. TNK will drop down, but still losing the Alchemist, and that's the core they need to keep alive.
Yeah, Alchemist is just desperately trying to hit level 6. He went a little bit too far forward there with Greed, but you can see he's just 70 experience hitting level 6 and he desperately needs it, and until he gets that, he's just going to be an easy pick-off. And at the moment, laning phase is really not going very well for Lowyat, and I think it's all down to the picks. I mean, I want to have faith in Lance, but he's getting shut down on the bot lane. The other 2 lanes just aren't winning either. Top lane, Bunks over T is absolutely dominating bad slow game. Bad slow game can't really go forward. 16 to 4 compared to 30 to 18. That is 18 denies on Bunks over T.
Wow.
And he got fast phase boots up too, so he's got no problems. He can just easily, casually strut away from the spin if Juggernaut does decide to go on him. And ultimately, Juggernaut's waiting to hit level 6. But even then, Bunks over T can pretty much just pop the sprout, swap the TP scroll, and just, teleportation, and just try and get out of the way. So even that might not be a saving grace.
Another rotation coming in from the supports. I don't think this one should be successful because of the recently placed Radiant Ward from Wisp. He will see this coming. He will immediately back off. And although he's only on the brown boots, it looks like he will be able to actually even dodge the net. So there's no chance that they're going to be able to bring him down. And now we actually see a rotation. Morphling had to fall back, now going back to the bottom lane. Wisp is up here on top, trying to do something to profit, but he'll just take some harassment and then head back home to heal up in full.
You can just see on bot lane, I mean, Lance just got back down there and Lekels immediately charges forward. And I have to say, I mean, a lot of people are fans of Burning's build, going for that stat points for the anti-mage, but I really enjoy maxing that mana break because you can just go so aggressive. I mean, he is just looking at Lance and charging down and not worried about the harassment. With the poor man's shield, with the Ring of Health, he doesn't have to worry. Now he's got the treads up as well, and you can just see. Lekel's going to back off for a moment, but he'll regenerate back up. And actually on top lane, they do manage to take that Bunks over T. Did you catch that?
Well, hopefully the cameraman did, but we do see that Nagasiren will try to retaliate. Here, Split Earth will be off the mark with that tether coming across, but they didn't even need the Omni Slash for that. It's just Leech Seed getting in range, and then, of course, the spin once he is ensnared. So that's a pretty big deal. Getting the kill on this Nature Prophet, who to this point was leading on CS and on levels. So very, very nice for them to pick that up, and it does show that there is still a silver lining in what's going on here as Wisp
And
moves to
Alchemist
level
in the
5.
jungle, charging up his stun, going on to ST, gonna get the stun off Acid Spray, trying to take him down, and he will get that one last hit, and that's a nice kill going to DDZ on SD.
Absolutely, but still, they have to, even getting those kills, they still have to be very, very cautious about how they proceed because Mistrust are coming back with full HP, full mana, and full force. But it looks like on top it's actually going to be this slowing effect taking its toll on BSR. He is going to have the phase boost up in just a moment. He will get out of range of this spin, and now the net comes out. This is very, very bad for Juggernaut. No mana, gets stunned, and this is going to be his death. So that is him getting, again, very, very aggressive. IO even taking a huge hit from the Wrath of Nature. It looks like, of course, the Nature Prophet is a little bit too low HP to pursue on top of the hero, but this just, by controlling the top of the mid lane, this makes it so the supports can't afford to help out Lance, who is getting pretty manhandled when you consider the build, like you were saying, that Lekels has gone. Now, 2 in Blink, 3 in Mana Break, but it's still very, very good for taking down the Morphling's mana, and in fact, with this Replicant, good for taking out Lekels as well.
Yeah, it is. It's a very harassing build, but I do suspect fairly soon we'll see Lekels rotating up to the top lane to get his own farm up. But the good thing about leaving this bot lane, the two carries versing each other, is DDZ is now getting his farm up. He's got a medallion up, and with that Acid Spray as well as the Unstable Concoction, which is a physical damage stun, he should be able to start just popping that Leshrac. I mean, Leshrac 758 HP. He's going to be very, very susceptible to die into the Acid Spray medallion and stun coming out from DDZ. So I think now that they've got a couple more levels on Lowyat's side, they should be starting to pull forward a little bit more and getting him a little bit more of an advantage. So I think now is going to be the more telling time. The early game was going to go to MiTH. They did have a much better, I would say, early game draft. But level 6 almost up on Wisp, level 6 up on the Treant already. And this could be seeing a lot more kills going the way of Lowyat, potentially.
Definitely has the possibility, but right now the aggressors are MiTH. They have 2 smoked up on the high ground. And checking out the Radiant Vision, actually just going to hookshot. It doesn't even matter what they see. They will take a huge amount of damage, and that ultimate from Alchemist is not going to be enough healing to keep him up. Abba taking a lot of hits from the Leech Seed and the Acid Spray, but he will be able to retreat out safe and sound. And despite 2 allies being nearby, like you were saying, this is one of the weaknesses of these 2 picks. They don't really contribute that much directly. They have great utility, but as far as when 3 people are engaging on one target and converging in such a fashion, there's very, very little that they can do.
And actually dewarding the passive was coming out from Lowyat, and I mean I think that Lowyat really need to be on the offensive. If they get initiated on by MiTH, I mean like we saw in that hook shot there's nothing much they can really do. What they probably need to do is, just charge up a stun, charge forward with the tree, and are we seeing kill somewhere?
Yeah, top, there is going to be a concoction with the medallion. Huge physical damage coming out, and the quick Omni Slash to guarantee that kill. Very much needed. He actually TP'd top lane with his Smoke of Deceit active just to try to hide his intentions. If there was a lane ward, that would have been avoided, but the thing is, Lakel's only just rotated up there, so they're not really going to have those precautionary measures in play at that point in time. So really, really nicely done by the Alchemist, and seeing the medallion do work already.
Yeah, and that was a really nice pick off on Lakel's, honestly. He was getting a little bit too fat. Sorry, my friend just saying stupid things to me in Skype. Yeah, getting a little bit too fat, and so now taking him down while Lance actually does get farm on the bottom lane without harassment, it's a really nice trade. So they're creating pressure for MiTH and creating space for Lance, which is what they normally want to do. And it looks like Lance will be going for the Linken's build. He's picked up a Ring of Health. So he could just be going for, a kind of casual perseverance, which will build into something later. But like I said, normally he does tend to just go for that Linken's. He doesn't even care. But he's actually picked up a Wraith Band, so going for a Ring of Aquila first. I guess for extra pushing power and a little bit of extra damage in case someone does come to his lane, he could turn that around and get a kill of himself.
Yeah. Generally one of the more stat-reliant heroes in the game. Morphling can benefit from both the strength, agility, and intelligence components of that item, and so that kind of it eliminates some of his early weakness, but the problem is it does, of course, delay his first core item. So we'll see. Obviously, like you said, if he's going for the Linken's, he doesn't really need it as badly until that Hex comes up for Nature's Prophet. So that is still plenty of time. He has plenty of buffer room to be able to pick that up in the near future. And so he's just kind of going for something for a little bit more gradual build-up and more success at the beginning of the game here. Now in mid lane, though, Cookshot will come out onto DDZ. Huge damage coming out with no retaliation. Actually, he survives for a little bit longer than I expected, but the supports have to retreat nevertheless. So there might be pressure on the mid tower. They only have 1 point in Edict, though, so I think they're just going to rotate and make sure that Lance won't be able to claim more monetary funds down bottom.
Yeah, and they're losing heroes for it. They're losing towers. They're actually getting towers denied. But I guess Lowyat are making the space for Lance, and that's going to be the plan, is just get Lance the farm. But on top lane, bad slow game. Can't really do too much against Lakel's. Lakel's has come back to that lane and just started farming up a storm yet again. He's already got another 20 or so CS, and bad slow game almost got his drums up. I think his ultimate is going to be up. No, his ultimate is up now, so maybe going to see DDZ rotating back to the top lane.
That is going to be the death of the Treant Protector. Does pop off his ultimate, but it's not going to be enough when he's hit by that Force Staff. Look at that timing. It's Force Staff rush. That is only 14 minutes of the game. He's already jumping in there, but Nature's Prophet down on bottom gets hit up by that relocate gank. So that is exactly what they need to kind of counter pressure with, is continuously hitting up the heroes that are trying to get the most farm as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I was hoping that DDZ would head top lane and get another gank off on the Kells and shut his farm down before he got that Battle Fury up, but looks like he's going to mid lane to help try and defend the tower, and actually rotation coming in from Juggernaut.
AA is in a very bad spot, getting hit by the spin inside the acid spray. He was stunned up inside his cogs for quite some time, but he uses a hookshot to escape with the help of the Song of the Sirens. So a couple ultimates committed, but that kind of survivability is really, really important because you cannot afford to continuously give them kill gold, as we saw with the relocate down bottom.
And Clockwork just picked up Gloves of Haste. Do you think he's going for a Midas?
Could technically be an armlet, but, in this meta, I would not be too surprised for BBAs to go for that Midas pickup, get a little bit more gold and experience towards maybe like an Aghanim Scepter with his level 16. That would be like right where he wants to be, is just locking down carries left and right. Speaking of, we do actually get a couple of stuns out on DDZ, but his ultimate active means that's not going to be that big of a deal. So pressure on the mid lane, kind of ignoring the bottom lane. They got the deny, and that's really all they were worried about. Now letting Lance kind of do his thing with that perseverance up. But one interesting item pickup that I actually did note is that Monksel Roti is going for a mechanism for the team instead of Clockwork. So he can go for the Force, he can go for the potentially Midas with no problems at all.
Yeah, they're pretty... I mean, both teams are kind of very open, and it really depends on how they want to play it out. Because Lowyat have got that kind of tri-core lineup with the Alchemist, with the Juggernaut, with the Morphling, so they could really just decide to go for the very late game, but of course there's a really nice split push potential, going for the Lucid, very nice split push potential from MiTH with the Nature's Prophet and the Anti-Mage, who is ready at any point to go for towers. Plus the Nagasaran who can rotate into carry, like we saw with KYXY on that Nagasaran carry.
Absolutely. We also see Gloves of Haste on Leshrac, so I think this is going to be some Midas gaming on multiple sides. We already have it for the Nature's Prophet. Is that a stun falling just on the illusions? Not really contributing too much, but still helping them defend this tower so they can go for the deny. But yeah, so like I said, they have already two 2B Midases. They already have one active, and they're in a pretty good position just to, with this investment, secure their late game potential. So I really do like
Yeah.
that move. And on top of that, they're doing pretty well, at least keeping the Juggernaut down. He is now finally getting his Drums of Endurance, but that's really not the scariest thing when he's still only level 10.
Oh, and I'm sorry. Let's check. What was
Okay.
that? I was going to say we forgot to do the 14-minute analysis. We've got to go through that quickly. So looking at the CS, Anti-Mage, Furion, and Morphling all on exactly 93 CS with 27, 18, and 15 denies. So looks like they are kind of going for lane dominance. Morphling and Anti-Mage pretty much even in farm, which is what you expect. Nature's Prophet doing quite well, like we saw on the top lane. He was 18 denies by about 6 minutes into the game, so he's just increasing that more and more. And Alchemist, he's on 66, so not too bad. He's just been farming, but zero denies at all. He wasn't having any lane control against the Clockwork. He's mostly just been farming using that Acid Spray. Juggernaut's 56 to 17, so on that off lane, he's been getting as many denies and last hits as he can, but ultimately his farming isn't so great since he's in the off lane. Clockwork, 54 to 10, did have the lane dominance, so what you'd expect. And then everyone else is just support, so they don't have very much farm. I'm done.
Yeah. I mean, 100% on the mark there as far as how things have been. Now, what things are moving towards. We do see the Armlet going to be soon available for the Alchemist. Pretty big pickup there to allow him to actually get on the front line. This means that Treon's Protector's heals will most likely get their full effect on a hero that has that much HP, that much regen, at least until, of course, Anti-Mage gets that Manta, and then there's too much damage output to deal with. But
Ooh,
as a
bot
whole,
lane.
he's getting tinky. Oh, yeah, bottom lane, putting some pressure out. Oh, this is a nice Invis rune, but he still has that Replicant active. Not sure where it's at the moment. It looks like mid lane. But expiring in 10 seconds now, he is in a little bit of danger if AA wants to go on him. But no, up on top is where he shall go, looking for the easy hook shot to interrupt this TP, or just Cogs. Must have known that the spin was expiring in just a moment. Now ticking away with the battery assault, and this should be a pretty easy kill here.
Yeah, he's got nowhere to go and he is going to be falling down. And so another good pickup from MiTH, and ultimately Lowyat aren't making as much space, but more core items coming up. Maybe they are just hoping to go for maybe 20, 25 minutes and just start pushing a lot more aggressively. Lance should have up his Lincolns by then. Armlet's going to be up very, very soon on DDC. And Juggernaut, he's got phase drums, and they will be defending this top tower now, so throwing out the stun, but Song of the Sign coming out, so not going to find it.
Yep, great way to respond to both a relocate and a concoction flying out is just say, hey, we don't want to take this fight whatsoever. You guys can do your thing. We're going to snipe a courier. Yeah, that's Nature's Prophet. Picking off the Radiance Courier on the backside of things. And from there, of course, Lakells will also take a tower. So huge money going to the entire team right there. Everybody got bonus 350. And that is going to fuel all of these nice little items on the side.
Yeah,
Like TNK's potential Midas. That'll be cool. But yeah, in this position here, the Battle Fury is done. Lakells is moving into the jungle. He's going into a farming frenzy, and with a couple of quick ancient stacks, he should be moving in towards that Manta style. Oh no, just goes for the Vlads. I've seen this build from Lakells a couple of times where he just goes Vlads and sometimes even Heart before the Manta. I don't think he should go to as far as the Heart because he does need to dispel Overgrowth, the ultimate of the Treant Protector, but
yeah.
Still getting some benefit continuously farming by life stealing with the Vlads.
Yeah, I do really like the Vlad's pickup, and it also means he could go for Roshan now if he had help of maybe the Clockwork or the Treant. Sorry, not the Treant, the Nature's Prophet. We might see Nature's Prophet coming in now. Or nope, looks like they're going to pass by. But I mean, Roshan's very easy to take if you've got someone to tank for you. Or alternatively, you can do it alone if you get up that Yasha too. So I really enjoy the Vlad's pick up on the anti-mage, and it does mean now he's going to have no reason to go back to base ever. He can just split push every day, and SD now screwing up his stack and then stealing it. So nice guy, SD. And Clockwork picks up the Midas. No Midas pickup on It looks like they're hiding there. They're going for Midas's because they are all actually just sitting on the courier now instead of holding it on the heroes. So I guess they wanted to be a bit of a surprise that everyone suddenly gets a Midas at the same time. Midas picked up on TNK as well now. And Midas picked up on the Nagasara. And so Midas gaming for Myth Trust. Everyone has a Midas apart from the Kells.
Yeah, apart from the carry, they have Midas on just about everybody. So that'll accelerate the... Oh, actually, relocate on top. This could be very, very bad for Nature's Prophet. They start with the Adaptive Strike, trying to get in range with that. Oh, that was a concoction. It's going to interrupt the TP, and that will be a nice little kill for Lance. A lot of good money in the pocket. Let's see if Moslem leaves him behind. No, he takes him back towards the mid lane, opening up an opportunity for SD to jump in with the net. DDZ taking a ton of damage, and although his concoction is a Bruin, that stun shouldn't be enough to get him out because AA drops some amazing cogs, blocking off the exit of the Alchemist while actually trapping in the Treant Protector. Now looking for a net on Juggernaut. He's going to take a heck of a lot of damage. Has the Magic Wand, has the Omni Slash, but will not be able to use it. Here comes Lance back into the fray, but it's like a 2 versus 4 right now. They have to fall back. Instead, AA doesn't want to let them. He pops everything he has, but now taking a lot of damage. Leech Seed, Urn Charge, it's going to be enough to bring him down. And Lance wants to guarantee that. So everybody has fallen back from here. We do see Juggernaut and Alchemist both in the grave, as well as Clock and the Furion, who was ganked up in the first place. But as you were saying, the Midases are out, and that means even if they break even in these engagements, they're feeling pretty confident about the later stages.
Yeah, and given that, Lowyat do have that tri-core and they're not even winning this kind of early to mid game, and now with all the Midas out of Myth Trust, this is going to be really snowballing out of control for Myth, and I think that Lowyat are going to have to consider what they want to do in response to this. They could go for their own Midases and just draw the game out, but ultimately, I mean, if you look at the goal graph, it's 10,000 in favor of Myth, and it's just going to be getting more and more, especially if Lowyat now decide to go for that, 27 or so minute Midas as it would be at this point. So they're kind of in a little bit of a bad situation, and that's kind of the power of a Midas. We can actually see Lakel's now going for that Roshan now. He has got the Yashra up, so he should be good to solo that. And, Lowyat, they probably need to start maybe ganking up now. They've almost got the mech up. In fact, they do have the mech picked up now on the Wisp, so possibly the best opportunity they have to go for a bit of a push now.
Yeah, a lot of push potential, a lot of, in general, sustainability of the core heroes because of the way Tether works with Mechanism and with Leech Seed, but they're already down so much. That gold disadvantage is all about the fact that they're down one extra tower, they lost a courier, and they're about to lose even more with this Roshan. So Myth Trust is just creating gold, taking it off the map by deconstructing, and now finishing off Roche as early as 24 minutes into the game. So this is very, very dangerous for them, and they really need to apply their synergies, which is all about Wisp being attached to a target and healing them galore. Like they essentially, like Alchemist can have 2 full HP bars with what Wisp can do. 625 from Mech and a very large sum from Leech Seed and from Living Armor as well.
And it does look like now we're going to be seeing initiation.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice
AA really wants to pick off. They need a little bit of vision. The Rocket Flare will not fly. They're not going to actually dive that deep. Meanwhile, on top, speaking of diving, Lance is trying to make sure this tower doesn't come across. He gets the tower last hit, and he's looking to finish the job. BSR, however, has that mechanism. Sprout actually pops the Lincolns there because he clicked it on him instead of the ground, and that is going to be his death, unfortunately. Now bottom, tier 1 dropping low. The concoction from the trees before he cheekily TPs right out from under their nose, but either way, the tower is claimed. So Lakel's and Lance both ramping up their farm.
Yeah, and I mean, we look at the net worth, it is basically coming down to, Lakel's versus Lance. Lance now got 3,500 gold in the bank, so he could be going for that Ethereal Blade and just looking to knock out the supports, especially because the supports did go for those Midas pickups. They're not going to have their core items up for another maybe 10 or so minutes. I mean, looks like TNK is going for a BKB, SD 1.8k gold in the bank, so he could be going for a Heaven's Howl. That's kind of the standard item pickup for a support Nagasaran, so it doesn't mean that they're going to be quite squishy for the next little bit of time until maybe the 30-ish, 35-minute mark. So that does give him, a free period in that point to go for him. And he has picked up the Ghost Scepter, so it looks like an Ethereal Blade is going to be his item of choice.
Mid lane, a lot of damage coming out. They're going to actually try to bring down Juggernaut, who's TPing away. Oh, he's going to use the ultimate, making sure he can break the TP with that Mana Void. Nice move by Lakel's. Unfortunately, the Cogs kept him away from his target, but even so, they will claim the Juggernaut in the end. Now, kind of putting some pressure on the mid lane. But one thing real quick to mention is that the Juggernaut himself is going for Hand of Midas, and while it seems silly to say don't go Juggernaut on... Oh, actually, wow, big damage coming out, and the mechanism does a lot of work. DDC actually might be able to live through this. They get the Overgrowth with the Acid Spray, but are just going to try to song out of it with a couple of TPs here and there. Lakel's in the front line, though, says, Mozun, you have no mana, you have no way of tethering out, and I want to burn you down. Unfortunately, he gets hit by the Concoction. Has to change targets to DDZ, but is losing attack speed from the tether. And that armlet toggle will keep the Alchemist up. Now Lance on the front line, just trying to find one kill out of all this, but AA gets a double cog with an amazing hook shot, charging up the Concoction once more, maybe switching over to Lakel's. No, just wants to burst down the Clockwork. They will find him. And from there, Lakel's is just trying to get one last target. Ghost Scepter up on Morphling. He's staying alive, and we hear Anti-Mage having to blink for his life. BSR, the last target, will be both Omnied and Concoctioned to guarantee that kill. That is actually a really, really good swing for Lowyat in that whole mix of things.
Yeah, that was honestly... I mean, I guess that is kind of the power of their lineup, is in really long, drawn-out fights. They've got, you know, the Leech Seed, they've got the Living Armor, they've got the Wisp just tethering people up and healing them with the mech, they've got the Alchemist who just lives off of long duration fights now with the Chemical Rage, you know, regenerating health over time. So that was the kind of perfect fight for them, and they did manage to, well, turn that around and get 2 pickoffs in exchange for nothing, and Alchemist now actually might be a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, stuns himself, but he still has a few more seconds of Chemical Rage. Not going to be that big a deal, though. TNK will throw out a quick stun. And it looks like they're going to just claim this tier 1 or maybe even fall back. Actually, they see behind them, the Lakel's is actually doing a very, very ballsy play, pushing out the wave. Now blinking up to the Ancients, but nothing to really prevent him from doing so. Anyways, the Ethereal Blade finish for Morphling. The Midas finish for the Juggernaut. Lakel is jumping in on top of Wisp. No tether available, but Lakel's just keeps on attacking anybody nearby. The Nature's Guys comes out, and I actually don't think they have detection, considering he's the only one they have to worry about. But here's that shotgun popping off on the Leshrac and burning him down quickly. Speaking of burning down, that is going to be the death of the Juggernaut and the Naga Siren. Just these two main carries, Morphling, Anti-Mage, both doing so much work, but now Lakel's in a bit of trouble. It did get stunned up and is going to retreat from here.
And this is really just exchanges back and forth, but I mean, ultimately, the Wisp didn't die during that fight, and there was a 2-for-1 exchange with Lance getting 2 kills, whereas did Lakel's get a kill? Yeah, he did. And this is really just turning into the 2 carries kiting around each other and just trying to pick off the supports as much as they can. But I mean, I guess in that kind of a situation, I'm going to give it a little bit more of an advantage to Lakel's on that anti-mage, just because he's got the mobility, he can split push so hard, and I don't think Lance can keep up. I mean, Lance is great in taking out heroes. He's great in, you know, siege pushing when he gets that Mantra up, which I think will be his next item choice. You know, he'll be happy to sit all day just on the cusp of this tier 3 tower and push, 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 push. But, I mean, is he going to be able to get to that point if Lakel's is constantly pressuring all the side lanes? And he can defend him, but I don't know if he can go head-to-head quite yet with the anti-mage, just because he can get the anti-mage low, but anti-mage will just blink away. And blink cooldown is, what, 5 seconds, whereas waveform, 11 seconds, so there's no way he can keep up, and Lakel's is going to be able to get in and out of fight, heal up, and then come back in, whereas Lance just can't do that as easily. He's going to have to use the replicate to get away, and he has to keep that with the team, or else he can't push out.
Yeah, completely agree with that assessment. As far as when the next clash will occur, it's kind of anybody's game, but I think it kind of is on Lowyat right now to kind of take advantage of that shotgun's potential. If they can get a relocate, actually a little bit of action on top with the shotgun doing its own work. You don't need to relocate when you can just find the target out in the woods alone. Meanwhile, down bottom, that tier 2 going to get dropped down from the anti-mage. Illusions, perhaps, yes. Lakel's will get that kill and walk away, getting himself up to a net worth value of 17,000. And honestly, Lance's kill may be pretty substantial, but that tower kill is even more relevant at this stage in the game.
Yeah, losing those towers, especially around the Roshan pit, I mean around the time of Roshan spawning, which will be reasonably soon, it's quite necessary to keep that alive. Actually, DDZ on bot lane going to get initiated on.
Yeah, should be dropped down. I mean, the stun is really nice. It's going to hit on just about everybody. Oh, no, he does actually have enough support that they probably won't be able to finish him off here. Of course, they only committed 2 or 3 heroes here because we already have a Clockwork making sure that Morphling's not pulling any shenanigans up top. Should mention that the Hex is available on the Nature's Prophet, so they do have means to deal with them. If they want to target Sprout or target Wrath of Nature to pop the Lincolns, they can still Hex them up. And another Midas on the field.
Everyone's just going for minuses. BKB picked up now on DDZ, so he shouldn't have to worry too much about the nuking damage. Pretty much only the net and the hook shot is going to be able to lock him down now. Wisp, maybe going for a Midas. Has he got a Midas flying out the courier? No, he's just got wards. That's boring. Tree Protector got a Midas though. Morphling 3.3k gold in the bank, so he could pick up his next Eagle Song if he's going to go for that Butterfly as his next item. Or if he's going for Manta, Yasha could be in the mix. Or, I mean, possibly Satanic as the next item choice. He has got decent damage, so he could use that to regenerate in team fights. So, I mean, classical morph build is Butterfly Manta. But anything is possible in this sort of a game.
Yeah, as far as the Wisp buildup, I would think it would be extremely remiss to go to Midas. As much as it's a fun little trend, right now the Wisp needs durability. He can't stay in the fight actively with this current HP pool, so he either needs a Ghost Scepter to avoid all these auto attacks, or he is going to have to go for a Heaven's Halberd. So both of those, quite a bit of an investment for a Lily support, but should be able to manage it in the near future. Either way, the whole aspect of Lowyat's team fight is persist as long as possible. We've kind of hit on that a little bit, but it can't be ingrained enough. They have all the heroes that survive longer and longer and longer. I guess the Alchemist does taper after his Chemical Rage expires at 25, but the Healing Ward and all these other heals on the board really means that they want the fights to last as long as possible, or it lasts literally 2 seconds with the shotgun, whichever may work. And like you said, he goes for unorthodox builds. We were talking about maybe Manta, maybe Butterfly. Instead, we see a Shadow Blade.
Shadow Blade, I remember. He went for that yesterday too. I just forgot because it was so ridiculous. Oh, and by the way, they're asking to see gold per minute in the chat for the anti-mage. Okay. Cool. Thanks. Yeah, I forgot he went for the Shadow Blade and he just used that to kind of ninja his way around all the team fights, which is such a weird pickup because Shadow Blade was nerfed in this recent patch, but I guess he feels like it really works. It gives him even more mobility and survivability and able to get around team fights.
Yeah, I mean, the active is really nice. I don't feel the passive stats benefit him all that much compared to alternative options. I mean, just picking up an ultimate orb and getting some strength and agility and, like I said, intelligence is really, really going to ramp up his potential. But if he uses the Shadow Blade and they don't buy detection and they don't punish that, and he, of course, benefits a ton from the mobility, then by all means, it could really, really do work for them. Now we are going to see an engagement possibly on mid. Bursting down TNK. Yeah, he is going to get rocked, and that is going to be 50 seconds down on the grave. And meanwhile, Roche has just respawned, so if they can just deal with this Lakel's threat a little bit, they might actually be able to put some pressure in that regard. But here's the tower, fortification. Lincolns will be popped. Lakel's finding a kill. Treant tried to solo defend that tower, not going to be an option. So tier 1 in mid is dropped down, but the tier 3 is under assault. Lakel's will be stunned up by the Alchemist concoction, but I don't think they have the lockdown to finish the job. So he will retreat. Meanwhile, Nature's Prophet up top. He is going to be taking the towers. Meanwhile, in mid, Lance doing work with that Ethereum. I'm not sure why Naga tried to contest, but now they get the relocate up top, looking for BSR, trying to burn him down. He has the Hex, but isn't able to get it off on the Lincolns, and that is going to be 3 kills in total for the Morphling. And they were able to repel Lakel, so actually quite a substantial win for Lowyat. Now back on mid. Looking for Clockwork. He has the hookshot, he has the force half. I think he'll be okay, but Lance has surprised me already with these early kills, and now finding him on the high ground, too much damage. He can't do anything. He might try to suicide to Roche, that's his only hope. No, it's going to be a kill for the Wisp himself. Now, Lakel is trying to clean it up. Yeah, I think that he's actually going to find something here, because Mozun is just too far away from home. So, with this last blink, he will be dropped down.
Lance doesn't even care. Lance is just like, oh look, a regeneration rune.
He's like, you want this, bro? You like this, wouldn't you? No. But, I mean, still, he's got to be happy about how that went. The great timing of the relocate, the great movement and repositioning that they were able to accomplish with that, just set up Lance to tear the entire map apart.
Yeah, and I'm excited for the end of this game because this is just turning into Morphling versus Anti-Mage. This is so the International 2. And this is just, it should be a pretty exciting battle, but Lakel's now probably going to be picking up the Manta, the Aegis. Poor man's shield is up, so he can easily get rid of that, and no contest coming out from Lowyat. No illusion sent in to scout it out. No, I don't know, healing ward sent in to scout it out. Just leaving it, and Lakel's now has got a double life, as well as that heart, as well as that Manta, as well as that Battle Fury. He is getting scary fat, and he will be able to pick up a Butterfly fairly soon if he chooses to.
Yep.
And
So we'll be able to close in on that. And the big thing here is Lowyat won't be able to afford Monkey King bars for a very long time. Juggernaut looks like he's going for an Ethereal Blade of his own or just a Ghost to stay alive. Not too sure. Either way, that is in his inventory. And DDZ has only just now finished up his Black King bar. So if the Anti-Mage gets that next tier of item, if he gets the Butterfly, there's very little that anybody but Morphling can do to him.
oh, I love that. Did you catch that in mid lane?
Look for a hook shot, but what was
Very
that?
cute. Oh, Morphling was just standing there right in front of ABBAA. ABBAA threw out that hook shot exact same second. Morphling replicated away. It was just very, very cute. It was just like, nope, see you later. Can't touch this. But look at the kills in the mid lane. 4 heroes on the other side of the map, and he's just in the mid lane, all happy as can be. Doesn't even care. He's like, I'll just farm here. I'm good. I don't need allies. And Juggernaut picked up a Ghost Scepter. Do you reckon he's going for an E-Blade as well?
I think so. I mean, obviously, it's just a build up to survive for the moment, so he can guarantee getting the Omni Slash off. But beyond that, I really do think there's a lot of value in just massing this nuke. You're not going to use it on Lakel's himself, but you will be able to contribute against the lower level supports like TNK and SD.
Yeah, it'll help out quite a lot. And I mean, I guess if they can just nuke down, get rid of the left strike, get rid of the Nature's Prophet, get rid of that Nagasarian, and hopefully get rid of AABBA. I mean, AABBA even fell quite quickly to Morphling using that E-Blade nuke on him. And then they can just 5v1 on the kills. And of course, they're probably going to have some fatalities. Tree Protector, been dying off a fair... Well, actually not that much. But he just can't do that much. It seems to be Juggernaut who's tanking the most of the damage. But, I mean, ultimately... Well, he's actually going for a Shadow Blade. Did he just get that up?
Yeah, he actually just picked that up, and I guess it's the same idea for Lance. Maybe not as effective, but if he can still get behind the enemy lines, and again, if Myth Trust aren't buying detection, then it can be a very, very powerful item. But as a whole, I still don't see it really changing things if there is detection on the field, which of course Nagasarian has had a gem for the past few minutes at the least.
Yeah. But, I mean, what is the CS on everyone? 345 on the Kells, and 293 on the Morphling, 270 on the Nature's Prophet, and gold 15,000 in favor of Mistrust. Experience only about 5,000, but I think, honestly, I think a lot of that gold graft is going to be skewed just because of those Midases. Because they did actually pick up the Midases a lot earlier on Mistrust. But I mean, still, how many Midases? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Midases in one game. Is that not ridiculous?
It's insanely ridiculous, but it's also the way the scene has been progressing. It's almost seems warranted because the point of getting the Midas is if they can't punish it, it's worth it. And so far, neither side has been really able to punish it. Like I thought, because Mythtrust was under assaulting the heck out of Lowyat, that it was really really foolish for Bad Slow Game to pick it up on the Jugger, but. Right then, that's when Morphling had the E-Blade. That's when he started putting pressure back the other direction. So it's actually given Juggernaut enough time to make it worth the pickup, and from here, he actually is getting to that late game status, if a little belated.
Yeah, and I suppose well, really, when you're versing teams that go for mass Midas, the only way you can respond is finish the game super early. So you need to make sure you have, a Pugner, or actually Tree might get ganked on the bot lane. They are smoked up, ready to go on him.
Yeah, hookshot will connect, and this pretty much means he can't do anything. Like, his animation time is just too long. He can't get through battery assault. Force-staffing out of the cogs. The Kells is the one currently on the front line, waiting to see what he's up against. Looks like he's actually... No, that was a blink away. I got confused by the illusion for a second, but I guess that's the point there.
Yeah, and a nice pick off there, and he actually bought out immediately, so that just means he's not going to have buyout for another couple of minutes, and I don't know if that buy was absolutely necessary. It's probably better if he holds onto his gold a little bit longer. Lakel's on the meanwhile sells out that Vlad's and buys up a Sacred Relic. Abyssal Blade or Divine Rapier? What do you reckon?
No.
Or Radiance?
I can't imagine a Rapier would be viable in this situation. Doesn't probably get to illusions, of course, and they have the game at least even, if not in the lead right now. So I would say there's no reason to take that risk. It's not a Desperate Rapier. It's just going to be an Abyssal, and it's going to be great lockdown if they can get the Lincolns on cooldown. There was actually a pretty huge pickup from the Alchemist that I want to talk about real quick. The Assault Karas did come out for him, and that's a really, really, really big deal for their team because to this point, their Acid Spray hasn't really been doing all that much because Lakel's Vladimir's offering that he had picked up earlier, right after his Battle Fury, actually. So that countered out almost all of the negative armor from the Acid Spray. Now they have that advantage. There is no Vlads, maybe even no Basilius on the entire team of Mistrust, and now they have the AC. So now they have negative 11 armor, and the only positive Mistrust have is the mechanisms active. So I actually have to say that their physical damage is going to go through the roof compared to their previous fights.
Yeah, that is a really nice pickup and a good notice by you. I didn't see that. And especially when you consider the Shadow Blade crit coming out from both Lance and now, of course, Bad Slow Game, that does mean that, they could potentially be doing a lot of damage in those first couple of hits if they can, combine it with Alchemist running it at the same time. Not only are they going to have the E-Blade instantly nuking down the Leshrac, because that's just a target of choice, or the Naga Siren, so they can't get the Sog of the Siren off. I think even Nature's Prophet is going to be quite susceptible to falling. Even with the BKB, it doesn't matter. BKB doesn't stop physical damage; it only stops magical. So that's a really good point. And I, it's both teams just are waiting for the next fight. They want to get 6 items up before they fight. I would assume because neither team wants to lose the fight.
Yeah, it's a difficult position to be in, but Lakel's is actually going pretty aggressively onto Lance, using the Shadow Blade. Now they have 2 versus 5, essentially. DDZ trying to throw out the concoction will end up stunning the illusions, but yeah, we see here that they are kind of just not afraid of anything right now. They have their buybacks up. They could wait it out. They could just keep farming, but the bottom line is keep... Oh, shoot. Actually, a quick shotgun kill on that Leshrac. Not really where he needed to be at the time, especially with his low HP pool. But yeah, the big thing here is MiTH want to scare off Lowyat, want to keep them hiding in their base, not farming. So Lakel's controls the jungle with the help of the Nature's Prophet, and then from there they will occasionally make some movements to put some pressure and force them back in retreat. So if they can just keep that up, they will have control of the game, not just because of their Midas advantage, but from their overall better map control.
Yeah.
But as we're seeing, they're finding openings anyways with these Ethereal Blade shotgun pickoffs.
Yeah, I mean, MiTH are doing their best to control the map, and like you said, Lakel is finding Mozone in the jungle there.
Yeah, he's going to go pretty hardcore onto IO, but there is going to be the Ghost Scepter now expiring. They're falling back. Meanwhile, on top, AA was trying to get in Vizgank on the Juggernaut, but the Nature's Prophet saw a couple of reinforcements, canceled that out, and in the end, still no blood has been shed.
Whole lot of farming going off. Looks like they do split the kills out and they want to go in on it, but I don't think they can really get in range. He's just going to blink out. I mean,
Really,
probably...
what are they going to do? Like, in this position, he has a heart. He can dispel one major debuff, like the Overgrowth, and he has a massive amount of magic damage mitigation with Spell Shield. It's so hard to bring this guy down. It's like what we saw from the Naga Siren from KYXY. They just don't really feel like they have the tools to make this happen unless some huge mistake comes into play.
Yeah, and I think at this point, probably do need to see the Butterfly picked up by Lance, or else he can't go head-to-head with the Anti-Mage. Anti-Mage will honestly be able to auto-attack him down quite quickly, and he has got a 1.4k base mana pool, so I think a Mana Void even could rip him apart. He's only got 1.6k health, so that's something else he has to keep in mind, because often in teamfights, your mana pool will go down quite quickly as a Morphling, because all of his spells cost a lot of mana, and with E-Blade, that's even more, 150 mana too, so... A pause coming out. But yeah, I think that really Lance needs to get probably a Butterfly, maybe an MKB, and just start split pushing quite aggressively. If he could maybe get this tier 2 tower down on top, he could start pressuring the tier 3 quite easily, just using the replicate to get in and out of team fights, as well as the more strength, of course, if he gets initiated on. Boop, boop. Hello? Okay. You there? Did you die?
Yeah. No, I have not. I'm just trying to think of like how to judge what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes, because I kind of feel like it's quite unpredictable. We've seen multiple Morphling shotgun pickoffs, and if they continue to let that happen, then they're going to continue breaking out further and further into the enemy's territory. And also we have the Clockwork's Aghanims and, of course, the global presence of the Prophet. So I really do feel like both teams have the greatest potential to just find one person by themselves, bring them down, and then subsequently take some long-term advantages through towers or anything along those lines. But it could go the other way, so we'll just pretty much have to keep our eyes peeled across the map and see who's going to get to the jump on the other.
Yeah, it is really hard to tell, and I mean, I feel like if Lowyat could force MiTH to pick a 5-on-5 fight, it should go the way of Lowyat, honestly. I feel like it should, but I mean, they're just never going to get the opportunity for a 5-on-5 fight. Like, MiTH just aren't going to give it to them. And on bot lane, you get to see the Kel's constantly pushing. No mercy at all from him. And I mean, it might be worth DDZ picking up a Battle Fury, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I know it's an early game item, but he has got decent attack speed, and it might help out with just taking down all those illusions, or even Juggernaut. Maybe picking up a Battle Fury so you can get the crits out during the thing. But you can see kind of they haven't got very much AOE, and they're having a lot of
Yeah.
difficulty with the illusions coming out. Like, what can they do against the illusions? The illusion armies are
Hmm.
just destroying, so some kind of AoE probably is going to help them. Shiva's Guard could work as well, though I don't know if it's enough damage, but I think Battle Fury at least help them push the waves out just a little bit.
Or maybe because we're talking Alchemist here, we could be looking towards maybe a Mjolnir. It's not a very
Yeah, that's
common pickup, but it's still they buffed its Chain Lightning effect, and the fact of the matter is, it's great basic stats for him as long as he feels his HP pool is high enough for it. Which I
yeah.
would say with the Wisp and the Treant it is.
Yeah, that's another good item choice that he could go for. I'm just trying to think because, like, obviously, with the Naga Siren illusions, with the Treant summons, with the Anti-Mage with his Manta, the lanes are consistently, constantly just going to be pressured in. Just non-stop. And they need something to say, stop it. The only AoE I can really see them having is the Blade Fury, which we can see Bad Slow Game using to push out the lane, and the waveform. But that's really not enough when you consider the tankiness of the illusions from the anti-mage. So Mjolnir could work out quite well as well. Plus, it is fairly cheap and easy to buy, and it's got a really nice build up as well.
Yeah, a lot of potential there. I love that everybody's going Ghost Scepters, essentially. They know the threat. They know how easily they can pick it off.
Oh, a
As a
hot lane.
matter of fact, look at that Abyssal. He's going to go and try to spin out, but the damage is done, and they are able to get a quick little pick off on the Juggernaut. Does have buyback, but nobody wants to be the first to use it. That's just going to start you off on the wrong foot. Either way, Tier 3 taking some hits. No backdoor protection. Regen. The creeps are just close enough to negate that, and now Lakel's blinking away from the concoction. That's free damage. That's really what they needed. And Roche is back up, forcing out a buyback from Juggernaut. A great position to be in for MiTH Trust right now.
Yeah, and I wonder if the Kells is going to head into that Roshan pit. Probably going to see Nature's Prophet sending a Treant in to scout it out, since they might not know what the Roshans are, but it is the cheese Roshan, and it's going to be absolutely crucial if they can get it down. But they're not heading in towards it. Also, oh
With the
yeah,
smoke,
Lakel's.
this is a good move if they smoke right here. This is exactly what they need to start moving forward. They have the butterfly. The timing is there. They don't have buyback, but if they get the offensive pickoff on Lakel's, then they won't really need that.
And it looks like they are maybe going to get this Roshan uncontested. MiTH Trust aren't in position really to defend it, especially given how fast it's falling. It is going to go down. That's a cheese and the Aegis. Cheese onto the Juggernaut, Aegis onto the Alchemist. So really, really, really nicely done there by Lowyat. And I'm not too sure if MiTH Trust just weren't able to counter 11. I suppose you would have thought with all the illusions they've got flying around the map and the summons, they could have scattered that out. But I suppose they maybe weren't just thinking about it, or they just didn't think that Lowyat had the map control to go into that Roshan pit.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't control it as well as they should. That's kind of a advantage that they didn't need to give away. Down at bottom, there is some pressure put on the Morphling, but his Lincolns will be back up shortly, and he actually wants to go in hardcore onto BSR. That BKB comes out, but a little bit too late, so that this mechanism might not be sufficient. Either way, there is an Abyssal Blade, a lot of damage received, but Lakel's has Manta on cooldown. He's going to eat the full Overgrowth, turns to the Treant Protector, and takes him down in 3 quick volleys of auto attacks, and now looking to Wisp, who's the same thing is happening. But he doesn't actually finish him off. He's going to leave that to the Clockwork. No problem at all here with the Cogs, burning him down to 7 HP, but getting healed up by the Healing War, and AABBBAA is gonna fall, and Mosin survives. So that's actually a pretty big loss. Clockwork and Ancient Prophet both dropping down at only the cost of the Treant. If they can defend this top, they are in a really, really good position.
Yeah, and that was honestly a really big, I guess, misplay coming out from MiTH Trust, because he did pop down the Abyssal Blade, and then immediately Nature's Prophet put the tree onto him. And ooh, TNK gonna tip you out there, and putting that tree on, the trees around the sprout, around the Morphling, meant that there was no way Anti-Mage could even try and attack him. I think you said that the tree and ultimate went down at the same time, but still not what you want to see. And actually, Abyssal Blade now picked up on the Alchemist too, so a little bit more lockdown coming out. If they can catch the kills alone, I think that he could go down. Morphling does do a decent amount of damage now with the butterfly pickup.
And even a Hex for Jugger, wow. In my opinion, that's just what the Doctor ordered. Lockdown, lockdown, lockdown. I mean, we're talking about the illusions as far as like clearing them in an AoE, but if you don't have to actually worry about the main anti-mages, the two illusions, they're kind of just incidental damage. They're not the biggest focus to worry about, especially when if you can stop Mana Void from happening whatsoever. So they have the Hex, they have the Abyssal, they have everything that they need to lock him down. It's just making sure that they find him alone, which currently he is, but still putting pressure out where they're just trying to take the mid lane. Drop mid down, backdoor regen kicks in, and they go for the fortification.
Why is it still
Now going
backdoor
in deep,
reasoning?
they're going to go and burst down on SD. He's going to go ahead and pop the Naga Siren ultimate. Song of Siren is here. Lakel's is using this time to burn down the racks. He's just using it as a delay tactic, and now on the front line, they're going to try to TP back home, recouping for their losses. But we already see the melee racks is down, the range racks dropping readily, and all they got was a tier 2. Now moving in towards the mid, Lakel's is so happy for this opportunity to just burn down the racks like he's been waiting for all game long. In the meantime, there are a couple easy targets. Yeah, that's right, the relocate will rubber band back, and Mosin is going to get dropped down.
Really, really nice Song of the Siren coming out from the Naga Siren, just holding them there long enough. Like you said, for the killers to get that Rax, and they kind of need Morphling to immediately target down and nuke down that Naga Siren, or else that's going to happen over and over again. And now we can see even Necronomicon picked up Necrobook 3 onto the Leshrac, so I think he's going to be pushing a little bit more as well. And I think at this point, maybe Mythicus considering rushing down the mid lane, waiting for bot to push in and just fighting mad mode possibly. Or just giving more room for the kills to backdoor. Because he just took down the Raxes so fast, especially once the Nature's Prophet rotated into. His Raxes just fell in seconds.
Precisely. Now, one thing I'm kind of curious about, and might just be completely blind about something, but the tier 2 in the mid lane was getting backdoor regen when it was fortified, but
Yeah.
there were radiant creeps right next to it. And I
Yeah, I
don't know
don't
if there was
even
some
know.
bug or I missed one of the factors that would change that, but it really perplexed me that that was happening.
Yeah, that was really weird. I was looking at that and I was like, why is that regenerating? There's a whole creep wave on it. That was very weird. So I don't know, maybe worth posting on the dev forums or someone who's a tech person, mech person, I don't know, can tell us. But yeah, this game still gold has just been dropping in favor of Myth. 25,000 now. Experience only around about 8,000, but there is the racks down now, and I mean Lowyat still can win this very easily. They just need to go 5-man mid ultimately. But the big problem is if they go 5-man mid, we're going to be seeing a Nature's Prophet pushing in the bot lane along with anti-mage. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation. They don't really have. I mean, they've got the Wisp, of course, but they don't really have anything to do with the split push coming out from the Anti-Mage because even if a Wisp rotates in, Anti-Mage is just going to blink away. And that's why Anti-Mage is one of those annoying heroes that, he never wants to fight you head on. He always just wants to split push and farm and split push and farm. And Lowyat are kind of stuck in this hard situation where they don't know what to do. And this is, people are saying in the chat, Alliance Rat Dota, and this is the kind of situation that Na'Vi was stuck in that final for the International 3. That they need to make a play, but if you do make a play, you're gonna probably lose at Rax for it. It's a really really hard situation to be stuck in. And actually, TTC on the top lane, BBA eyeing aggressively.
Ooh, looking for the hook shot. Not going to find it here, and maybe better that he didn't. That would have kind of opened a can of worms I don't know if they were ready for, especially with the potential for the Wisp to TP the Wisp, or relocate the Morphling into the action. But anyways, they are currently just kind of holding on to everything they've got, just trying to kind of set their feet in somewhere, this top tier 2 for starters. But yeah, like you said, they can farm all day long, but now, oh my gosh! That is an awesome pickup from SD. We saw it once just recently. The Song of the Siren already setting them up to take a single set of racks. Two songs to lock them down where they can do nothing but watch their base die as they're just snoozing away. Oh goodness, that is so mean. So mean. But it means that if the Naga Siren is alive and doesn't die during disables, during the chain of stuns to start things off, if he gets a song off, then they're screwed. And this makes 5-man Dota so hard for Lowyat.
Well, I mean, ultimately, if you want to go for a 5-man Dota, you kind of have to get rid of that Naga Siren. That's why she's such a popular ban is because that Song of the Siren just destroys in team fights. And she is hiding back. I don't know if she's going to reveal that she has a refresher orb. Oh no, it looks like she might be going forward, so they they should be aware, and it looks like Lowyat are making a play. They are smoked up, ready to come around behind. Lakels is pushing in the bot lane. No boots to travel up on him, so he might not be joining this fight, and this could be the fight of the
Yeah, but
game.
Morphling's not involved here. We'll see if the song comes out in time. Song number one will fly out, wasting the concoction and kind of getting a good perspective on the positioning of the opposition. Now, Nature's Prophet, Anti-Mage both on the tier 3 in the mid lane. They do get the Ethereal Blade to negate one Anti-Mage's auto attacks, but meanwhile, a second song going. They're just locking them in place. Now they're going to go for the fight, bursting down hard on IO. He will fall immediately, and they're going to go for Juggernaut too. Think he was trying to TP, but to no avail with that hookshot connecting. Pops the cheese, delaying some more, but still will fall in the end. Meanwhile, down bottom, Lakels does get abyssal while he's abyssaling the Triana. Second abyssal comes out. Can Lakels blink? He needs the Manta. He gets the Manta, and he will be able to blink away. Regenerating from hurt in about 30 seconds. He'll be ready to rumble again. Oh my goodness, it's so painful to be Lowyat right now.
So painful, and really well done there by Naga. Unfortunately, just alone, Morphling can't defend these lanes, and even though his score is fantastic, 14-0, he just can't man mode an anti-mage. I mean, I would say in a team fight, Morphling is a better carry, but one-on-one, the anti-mage just ruins all his mana, and then, what can a Morphling do? He can auto-attack back, but without a Satanic, he can't deal with it. And he has actually gone for a Skadi as his next item choice, so he's not even going for the lifesteal, he's going for that slow, and I wonder if this is the best choice. I feel like maybe a Satanic would help him just go one-on-one, but the Skadi does add extra stats, extra damage, and, I mean, as a slow, so it is a strong item choice, definitely, but I feel like maybe he needs the lifesteal a little bit more. But I guess we'll find out with this next fight.
Yeah, I think the one big thing is that he's not dying at all. He's 14-0-3. I don't think he's ever really been in jeopardy. They're not pressuring him that hard. So what he wants to do is get high stat values that he can just turn that strength into agi. He's sitting on a 19 to 144 ratio for base strength and base agility, and that Skadi just allows him to be much more aggressive with his stats. So I could imagine him just going for a Satanic on top of the Lincolns, like selling that and picking that up as a 6th item. But for right now, he's pretty confident that he just wants to reduce the enemy's attack speed and try to do a little bit more damage.
Yeah, I can understand that, but at the same time, if you watch him in team fights, he's never actually really going full-on man mode one-to-one. That's what I mean. Like, every time Anti-Mage gets near him, he kind of backs off, or he kites around, he uses the Waveform to chase after someone else. He never actually fights the Anti-Mage, and that's why the Anti-Mage was able to take the racks there, because Morphling was, trying to take down the Nature's Prophet, which makes sense, of course. I'm not saying don't take down the Nature's Prophet, but if you want to go man mode, you need some kind of lifesteal, I would say. But I can see what you mean. Like, he hasn't died yet, so maybe the lifesteal he feels like it's not necessary, and it's really going to depend on what happens. But you can see now on bot lane, Lakels just walks in and just doesn't even care. A couple of hits and Lance is forced to back immediately because he knows if he runs out of mana, he's dead. Lakels can kill him very, very easily.
Yeah. Definitely a concern. Definitely a limiting factor, but they're still going to go in. They know they're up against a song. They're actually up against 2 songs, whether or not they know it.
On bot lane, Lance.
Oh, bad spot for Lance. They do rotate the Nature's Prophet. He has that Hex doing so much damage, and there's the Mana Void. That's what you're talking about. Burning all that mana, one-shotting him with the Void, and now the buyback from the Morphling. He's the sole defender. Now we have BOTs coming in, Necronomicon everywhere, and they're going to go for the range rack since they don't have to worry about backdoor production. They're even going for top lane. TNK taking some hits, pops his BKB to live as long as possible. Now they're going to go. It's a base race. DDZ pounding on the tier 4s. Going to see Lakels rotate to the tier 4s of the opponents in just a moment, perhaps. Here's TNK buying back, getting a nice double stun. Damage coming out from BSR. If they can just repel them, they will be able to win this game. But here comes that Overgrowth. A lot of stuns. Lance doing so much damage, and everybody on MiTH Trust has retreated to their base. They're trying to give the throne up, but it's dying too fast. 1,500, 0 HP. Lowyat will actually win this game. That just blew my mind how much damage they were able to do with this Tricore right then and there, right when they needed it, with the fortification down. And as much annoying play MiTH Trust can throw at Lowyat, in the end, it comes down to who takes the Ancient. And right there, Lowyat just went hard on those tier 4s.
I feel like MiTH could have won that if they all just went for the throne as well. With all those Necronomicons, they could have taken it. But they decided to defend, and they just couldn't get there in time. So, I mean, GG well played to both teams. Both of them played fantastically. 59-minute game. And this is only game 1 of a best of 3, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez Louise. But, I mean...
More Rat Dota to come, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. But, of course, thank you for everyone for watching. This is, of course, as I said, game 1 of a best of 3, so 1, if not 2 more games coming up. Thank you, of course, to Steelseries for sponsoring this tournament, and Dota Talk for allowing us to cast it. And Pimp Munkle, and Blaze for co-casting, and we'll put our stuff in the Twitch chat, or you can boost it now if you want.
Of course, we'll have a couple more games to come, but if you guys do want to check my casting out individually, or maybe I'll do some more with Parson Liddy, you're over at twitch.tv/DotaTalkTV2. I'm over at twitch.tv/DotaTalkTV3. So one way or another, we'll have some awesome SEA and potentially some just Chinese and Western Dota in the future for Dota Talk. So glad to be able to bring you guys this game, and you can also follow us. I'm over at twitter.com/blazecasting, and you're Lily?
Yes, and Pimp
Cool.
Munkle is, I'll spell it out because I can't say it, and he yelled at me because I spelled it wrong last time.
I'll put it in the chat.
Pimp Muck Muckl. That's
Perfect.
his Twitter. We'll put it in the chat when chat stops going crazy.